I think we're good. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton at Figment in Figment Capital. We are a staking infrastructure provider and also a venture fund that primarily invests in the infrastructure layer. I'll let everyone do quick introductions before we get started.
Hi everybody, I'm Darren Langley. I'm from the Rocket Pool team. So Rocket Pool is the second largest liquid staking platform. We're a decentralized liquid staking platform. We have over 3,000 node operators in about 133 different locations.
Hey everyone, name's Ben Rodriguez, protocol specialist at Coinbase. As you may know, Coinbase is like one of the largest exchanges, but we also have a lot of other products, Coinbase Cloud and all that fun stuff. Coinbase Cloud stuff, like we do run validators as a service and stuff like that. We have like our liquid staking solution with CB and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Jakov. I'm a contributor at Lido. I'm leading the DeFi side. Official name of the role is Master of DeFi in the Protocol Relations team.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark. Some of you know me by XeroXVeer, which I go by in the interwebs. Currently leading the BDN growth team at Mantle. Mantle is an L2. We're a modular chain which uses Eigenlayers technology as our DA layer, although currently it's in a special form which we run our own instance of, so kind of Eigenlayer Lite that is run by us. Eventually we'll of course move to EigenDA, which is in the works for Q1. Also, Mantle is much more than just the L2. We're a whole ecosystem. We have a governance layer. We have some early partners even before Mantle became Mantle, when we're still named BitDAO. So that's Game7, which is a gaming ecosystem and organization. We have EduDAO, which is a student blockchain club network that supports students and their travel to conferences and hackathons. We also supported some research on the fraud-proof side with Berkeley RDI and Don Song's lab there, and many other initiatives that have both seen the day of light and also been deprecated. But we've worked in the space much before Mantle L2 existed as a product. We're also working on some other internal products, including an LST called METH or METH, however you prefer to call it, which is objectively the best ticker on Earth. And many other things which you can maybe learn later about. But happy to be here, and thanks Eigenlayer for hosting this.
Excited to buy meth later. Thank you. So we have about 20 representatives of about $20 billion of liquid staked tokens, as well as someone representing someone with a large treasury, as well as someone who's planning to launch an LST in the future. So I think it makes sense to start, like, how are y'all thinking about restaking as a whole, and how it relates to what you're currently doing on the LST side of things?
So from our side of things, it's quite interesting because Rocket Pool has two sides to its market, really. We have our liquid staking token, RETH, on one side, which is being kind of restaked within Eigenlayer. And then we have our node operators on the other side. So on the liquid staking side, we're a permissionless protocol. So there is lots of innovation that's being developed on liquid staking tokens and using RETH. And this is one of those innovations that is very exciting. On the node operator side, we have over 3,000 independent node operators, and so that is a very good base on which to kind of support Eigenlayer in creating these decentralized kind of networks and supporting these applications. So that's definitely something that we're interested in terms of the providing more utility for our node operators.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to continue on with that, at Coinbase, as I mentioned, we have a lot of different products, right? We have the validator like as a service side on cloud. We have CB. We also have for our liquid staking solution. We also have a partnership with Alluvial liquid staking solution, right? So the extra utility that that can come from, activating something like EigenLayer with any of these solutions that we have. Coinbase is very excited to be able to think about the many different kinds of offerings that we can have with EigenLayer with that. So we think about the many different modalities that we can offer something like this extra utility that comes from EigenLayer, and we couldn't be more excited for that.
At Lido, I can speak for myself as a contributor, though I think a lot of other contributors and members of the community probably think in a similar fashion. I think EigenLayer, and not just EigenLayer, but general mechanics of restaking are really exciting and something that kind of steps out of the general day-to-day DeFi happenings, something really new. And though it's new, though it's super exciting, I'm also trying to be cautious, and I would like things not to move explosively fast, just because there's a lot of new things introduced over here. But since the major utility of liquid staking is actual composability, majority of integrations have dependencies. With oracles, we are also trying to get our liquid stake tokens and assets to other networks that will sometime in the future, when we're talking about layer 2s, be secured by decentralized sequencer network. So it does make sense to use the economic power of the actual liquid staking token to empower a deeper part of the infrastructure.
On Mantle side, also speaking as a contributor on the governance side, so my opinions only, but so last year in May, so a year and a half ago, another core contributor, and at that point he was the head of product at Wind Ranger Labs, which is the core product lab behind BitDAO and now Mantle. Jacob sent me a YouTube link, that's like a 7-hour-long video, and there's somewhere in the middle was Sriram talking about EigenLayer when the logo was still just Arial, probably font or something, just says EigenLayer without the E/data layer. It was like, it was very cool. Jacob said, listen, I don't get impressed easily. I'm impressed now, so you have to watch this. So in last May, we became little fanboys of Sriram and EigenLayer. We had a governance proposal for creating an L1, which most of the core contributors kind of rebelled against, and we came up with a alternative counter proposal, which was a modular L2, and immediately we're thinking of EigenLayer as kind of core infrastructure stack to kind of post the roll-up data to somewhere else other than mainnet. So that's kind of how we started looking into EigenLayer and our partnership and working together on the DA side. Now there's a lot more that we're looking into and kind of exploring. There's like fast finality bridging, again on the infra side, that we're really excited about, especially as an optimistic roll-up that's or epitemium, whatever you guys want to call us. It's exciting because it improves the bridging side of our stack quite a bit, and again leveraging kind of stake committee design using EigenLayer. You'll hear more about these things very soon. Also, of course, on the METH side or METH side, hoping, of course, to be whitelisted at some point once we launch. But yeah, there's just so many synergies with this technology, and we're both extremely excited about like what's possible. There's so many unknown unknowns that it's both exciting and also terrifying and scary. So yeah, can't wait to see where we all end up.
Awesome. So if people don't know, there's two ways to restake currently. You can either native restake or you can use an LST. Right now, the majority of restaked ETH is in the form of LSTs. Obviously that can, that has a lot of benefits. You can do it in one click. You don't have to spin up your own validator. It also has another layer of governance risk or, infrastructure risk, et cetera. I'm curious if you all have thoughts on where you see the market changing from native restaked ETH to LST restaking in the future moving forward.
Yeah, I think from our experience, our liquid staking token is, we have like a huge demand for our liquid staking token, and node operators are kind of like spinning up to try to meet that demand. So I would say it's probably going to be very similar in this sense. Liquid staking tokens are very convenient, very easy, and so I would imagine that this delegated kind of like restaking is something that's going to be very, very popular. I kind of hope that there is going to be quite a fair bit of native restaking as well, because delegation has some kind of like issues depending on how the delegation actually happens, and so making sure that it's delegated in a way that still kind of keeps the decentralization and actually instills the trust is going to be really important. So I think I think the LST staking is going to be very, very popular. I kind of hope there's a bit of enough of the native restaking as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's like paint a little bit of a picture here on just liquid staking in general, right? You have many different modalities of staking. You have the solo staking, you have like pooled staking, you have liquid staking, stuff like that, right? And then like a good percentage, I bet, what is it like? Well, 42% or something like that, if my number is correct, is all on liquid staking. Because of it's just so like the liquidity aspect of it and the ease of use of it, to be able to like use it in many different places through DeFi, just makes it so much more convenient. And the convenience is what really attracts people to these liquid staking solutions, right? So, and then the other thing that has is the utility behind the liquid staking, which I mentioned. Like you could use it across like DeFi and stuff like that, right? So with restaking, we have an extra set of utilities, right? Whatever that might be, with the AVSs that are supported behind the scenes and stuff like that. There's extra utility that comes from restaking. So because of LSTs, right, being so convenient and all that stuff, and restaking, adding this extra utility behind it, I see there's going to be potentially a really big acceleration on liquid staking, continuing to be the most dominant form of staking in general, but also going to what was said here about native restaking, right? The delegation part of it, right? We're going to see a little bit more movement there as well. Because again, we have to think about the utility aspect of things. If there's a net positive in something like utility, and being able to get more out of something, then you're going to see that acceleration happen, and we're going to see that those two kind of modalities native restaking and liquid restaking probably grow at a larger pace than any other kind of potential staking solution.
Yeah, I cannot agree more with you. I think you said it really well. LSTs are very accessible, very user-friendly to whoever is familiar with DeFi currently, though one of the things I would like to see the whole ecosystem improving on is making it more accessible, not just to the DeFi sandbox, but actually outside. There I think we might be actually seeing also a bigger inflow of native ETH restaking, maybe initially because of some legal blockers that can be quite challenging, but generally in the DeFi space, my opinion is that whoever is looking to restake and maybe in the future also liquid restake is quite familiar, and if he's already holding ETH, probably he's already staking in some form or another, and that will most likely be a liquid staked ETH. So yeah, my opinion is that in the short term, definitely we're gonna see majority of the restaked ETH in the form of liquid staked ETH. Then while we are reaching out, there might be some bigger inflow of native staked ETH, but then again, on the long term, I think liquid staked tokens are here to stay and basically to be the majority of the staked ETH in the space.
Yeah, I think I agree with everyone. The one addition maybe to the talking points before, there's so many unknown unknowns. Like we don't know about a lot of the kind of infrastructure mechanisms. Like what are the underlying assets for stake committees? Like in our case again, like thinking about fast bridging, like in ZK bridging, and like what are the expectations for the stake committee design there. Some of those may require native ETH. So then, again, depending on the products built on top of EigenLayer, there could be various ratios of native ETH versus liquid staking tokens. But completely agree with all the points on accessibility for LSTs and so on. So especially on retail side, yeah, people are chasing the yield. So this is the way, and it's an easy way.
Yeah, I mean, it could also go both ways, though, right? Like Mantle could prefer METH, right? Or reward people better if they're METH holders. But yeah, I mean, I agree, right? The user profile of an LST versus someone who's maybe staking it and forgetting it, similar to hodling Bitcoin or ETH with a reward rate attached to it, likely needs less utility and it's likely less risk, more risk averse than someone that's already holding an LST.
Can I make another point, actually? This is something that kind of popped up in my head like right now as we were all just talking. And institutions and enterprises. I said like, LST, like, staking, right? And like native staking is going to probably grow, but I think it's probably like, just be more disproportionate to LSTs because I thought about institutions and enterprises that probably will require liquidity with like, being able to pull things out with size. Right, and that would be the modality around LSTs would be the most useful for something like an institution or enterprise. So thinking about that, we'll probably see like, during the next, whenever that bull run is, or like institutions are looking into creating, let's say, ETPs or ETFs and whatnot. It's probably going to be backed by liquid staking solutions. And then these folks are coming in with huge size. So we're probably going to see an even bigger disproportionate growth of LSTs as that main modality that grows, especially with restaking.
To the next question, because you are effectively locking the LST into a restaking contract, right? So again, like a known unknown, we don't know if there's like going to be an unbonding period or anything, but then it would effectively be not liquid. Does the value proposition of LSTs change in that environment?
It doesn't necessarily. I mean, so there are a couple of value propositions for liquid staking tokens. Liquidity is a big one, definitely. But it's also the fact that you're essentially delegating your stake to a node provider. That's probably one of the biggest ones because you don't have to actually run a node to stake. You can hold a liquid staking token. You can still support the network by doing that because you're supplying capital to do that. But that's probably one of the biggest benefits. Liquidity is definitely a benefit. And you would lose that if you locked it in. But then obviously it's a trade-off. You're making the trade-off between locking it up and putting it at risk because it would be at risk, and earning that extra yield on that. I think there's a lot of innovation in the liquid staking space. The liquid staking tokens are a primitive on which you can build a lot of things. There's a whole wealth of kind of LST-fi, they're calling it, but essentially all these new innovations that come out of building on top of a liquid staking token. EigenLayer is definitely one of those things. It's also interesting because it changes the narrative a little bit around liquid staking tokens. It becomes a liquid trust as well, as it's not just a liquid staking token that earns you rewards, but also a form of liquid trust that you can help to promote the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, I think, again, we keep talking about liquidity because that's one of the biggest and important things, right? But it may change based on the customer segment, right? Based on the user segment. Whereas, some maybe like a degen, like, ourselves up here, right? We might kind of optimize for like, the largest yield possible, right? And we might like look at a solution that like gives us the, if we're liquid staking, we get the liquid staking rewards, plus also as much rewards as possible from like, a set of AVSs on Eigenlayer, right? But going back to what I was talking about before about institutions and enterprises, they probably have like a much like less appetite for their risk profile. So that might take some time for them to like potentially adopt something like, liquid restake solution, because they definitely need to, like, they're definitely working with like, a lot more risk. Their appetite's a lot lower for that. So I do think there's like going to be a little bit of a gap in a way in terms of like that growth factor that I keep talking about. But in terms of like the value proposition, I just don't, accessibility, as was mentioned, and liquidity, as long as those two things are like the main things behind this, the value proposition will just, like, restaking just makes that a lot better. And, there's a lot more innovation that's going to happen on there. So as long as that's the, it like, has that like extra utility, like that doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this because as I see it, we're gonna kind of start from scratch. Imagine like you have native staking and then you have liquid staking. And then now you have restaking and then you'll have liquid restaking. So we're pretty much doing the same thing. But it's a lot of work, don't get me wrong. So it's very simple to put it that way. But in the same way, we all need liquidity, and institutions need liquidity. Retail also need liquidity for the LSTs. We'll also have the same thing for the LSTs. What? Yeah, maybe something like that. And then we'll also like have all the same integrations in terms of composability. Hopefully, you'll be able to mint stable coins using liquid restaked ETH as a collateral. But we'll have two DeFi tracks going in parallel. So now we're seeing innovation, mostly focus on bringing utility to LSTs, called LSTFi. But then imagine going that stream, innovating all the time, and then having another stream. Obviously, a lot of teams will be shared doing both things at the same time. We are still a small community. But innovating on this other side, focused on the liquid restaking integrations. I think in a couple of years, though whenever I say couple of years, things happen way sooner than I'm expecting, we're gonna see very deeply integrated LSTs, and with sufficient liquidity, I think we're kind of abstracting native staking way more. And the new users, the new community, will actually not think anymore about the primitives. In the same way, you're not thinking about protocols when you're just tapping on your phone. So it's quite exciting for me. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of work.
I'm not sure if this is an extremely middle curve take or left curve take. And I'm not qualified to talk about any of this, but like speaking of like liquid restaking tokens, but that seems like an answer to your original question, which is like what to do with the locked up tokens, like what do you do now? But yeah, I haven't looked into it enough, but this seems like an infinite money glitch at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of LRT projects that aren't on the stage right now that are planning to do this, and I think. To your point earlier about 42% being liquid, like even native staking for a lot of people, right? It's difficult to do if you're not, here every single day in crypto, but like you want to get rewards generated from your crypto holdings. So like I think there's a natural move in this direction for LST projects. Sharon mentioned 1,000 AVSs. You mentioned different restaking strategies based on risk preference. It's like that results in potentially millions of different restaking strategies. From a, elementary school educated token holder who wants yield, that's a very intense dashboard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you all have plans to potentially launch an LRT specific project, or maybe be involved in the staking strategy space or restaking strategy space for your token holder community?
We don't have plans at the moment. We'll kind of see how the landscape kind of unfolds before we kind of make that call. One thing that did occur to me is from a liquid staking token holder perspective, at the moment, what you can do with a liquid staking token is two things. You can hold it and just earn the yield, which is perfectly valid. Or you can put it into kind of DeFi, and there's a whole raft of things you can do in there. With the one thing about kind of like restaking is that it's the same thing. So when you stake your ETH, you're putting it into the Ethereum protocol for proof of stake. But with restaking, you are supporting that infrastructure. So it's very different from putting it into DeFi. So people are probably going to be much more willing to put it into supporting the ecosystem through these kind of like AVSs, rather than necessarily putting it into DeFi. People are a lot more. DeFi tends to be a bit more risky, and so that kind of like duality is kind of interesting in terms of the amount of people that would be interested in it.
I think Coinbase, like as I mentioned earlier, like we have many different products and there are many different types of modalities that we can look at in terms of offering a restaking solution, right? We are very excited. We are very excited for EigenLayer and the potential of it. But much like what was said here, we are kind of taking a careful approach to it. We are Coinbase, we are part of the working group. With the node operator working group to work with EigenLayer and stuff like that, to really to try to test it out and figure out where to go from there. But there's no committed thing just yet. We're trying to really assess what the risk profile looks like, because in the end, right, it was said just kind of a little bit of exercise, a little bit of caution, right? This is a it's on a smart contract on top of smart contract, right? There is unlimited possibilities, but also and I don't want to. That's not me sounding bearish, but it's just being real. There's an unlimited amount of ways that things can go wrong, right? So and we have to be very careful with that. So yes, we have there's a lot of excitement, but we do need to have that level of reality in the back of our heads, because in the end these are smart contracts, and I don't have the number off the top of my head, but how many times have we heard smart contract issues, hacks, whatever the case may be, this year, right? Alone. So we will continue to work with EigenLayer, at least from the Coinbase perspective, and then continue to assess how this will play out.
I think it's really important that Lido software stays minimal, stays as a staking middleware, and focus on the primary objective, and that is to make native staking accessible. And then, for example, my objective as somebody who is trying to get as much utility to the Lido staked ETH is to coordinate and see with other people, other projects, how to make the best out of the technology that is available, how to develop the technology further. So I think that obviously it's a DAO. Anybody can voice an opinion, and if we agree to it, it's going to happen. But I think Lido should stay like that, and you can follow the discussions on the forums and different parts of the community, where the community is always really excited to talk about happenings in the ecosystem. So it's not only Ethereum staking focused, but a lot of new projects are reaching out every day with new ideas. Sometimes these ideas are not super polished, they're really rough around the edges. That's where we as Lido contributors come out and try to shape it in the best way possible.
Yeah, for us and for Meth, we're an unborn child. We're still just working on the birth side of things, which is happening soon TM, hopefully at the end of this month. We're like just the kind of fundamental decision we've made is we're taking as few risks as possible, and we're focusing on the simplicity of the design of the of our own liquid staking protocol. So yeah, right now just focusing on the simple things, and then instead of trying to find these infinite money glitches and taking much more additional risk, we're kind of leveraging our unfair advantages on the BDN growth side and leveraging our treasury, which is fairly healthy, looking into some like treasury sharing strategies that we can also do, or treasury yield sharing strategies with our liquid staking protocol and so on. So yeah, working a little bit more on the BDN growth and that strategy side of things, and less on taking additional risk on like what else can we mess around with and what kind of shenanigans can we come up with.
Awesome. Well, we're at time, so thanks everyone.
That was perfect.
No, no.
I know. Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. But yeah.
Great job.
Yeah.
Great job moderating.